For this second part, we're going to go through some of the more complicated arithmetic formulas and functions, VLOOKUP, COUNTIF, SUMIF, and so on and so forth. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is the VLOOKUP. Okay, so in one of the early classes we had a column like this, a grade number and column that was actually on the Excel sheet, and we used the VLOOKUP function to convert the test scores into a grade letter, a letter grade. All right, sometimes though on the IGCSE test, you might not have the column that you want to reference within the sheet itself. It might be on a different file or on a different sheet. So I'm going to show you how to use the VLOOKUP for that. Okay, so I've got these letter grades and converted to, I want to convert my actual number grades into a letter grade. I've got that on another Excel sheet entitled Book 2. Okay, so I want to use a VLOOKUP function to convert these test scores into letter grades. All right, so I'm just going to, because I want to save time, put in already the function that I've put in before and just explain to you guys what that does. So the VLOOKUP formula tells me, hey, I want to look up something and I convert it into something else. In this case, I want to convert number grades into letter grades, and I'm going to use this column here on B2 to do that. Okay, so VLOOKUP tells me I'm going to do that function formula. C4 tells me, what am I going to compare? I'm going to compare whatever's in here to this column in here, and I'm going to spit out a letter grade, E, D, C, B, or A, depending on what is in there. So C4, and then if it is on another sheet or file, I can simply just cut and paste. All right, I can select all of this stuff, go away. I can select the entire column that I want where I am here like that, okay? And that's what I've done in this instance here, okay? So I've just cut and pasted after C4, I put a semicolon, cut and pasted, that's all that is the cut and paste from this file here in Book 2. And that tells me that. That's from the file Book 2, that's on sheet 1, and those little dollar signs, all right, that is an absolute reference that will hold those in place so that if I do a autofill down here, it'll put that all into place, okay? So I just cut and pasted all of this from the other one, okay? Index, okay? That tells me what column do I want to put in a letter grade. In other words, that column 1 here is my number grade, and I want to spit out the letter grade here. Go away. Okay, so that's what the 2 does. 2 tells me what is it that I'm actually going to show, what column am I going to show in this column here. True, okay, that's true because it is a range. In other words, if the student has between a 9 and a 10, they will get an A, okay? If it was an exact thing, if it said, hey, 10 equals A and only 10 equals A, that would be a false value there, but it's true because it is a range, okay? So I put that in, okay, great, that's true, okay, and then I just spread that down there, autofill, so that it will put in it'll convert all of my number grades into a letter grade. So we use the VLOOKUP to access another column that was on another sheet as opposed to just being on the sheet itself, which we had in the last class, okay? What else do I want to do for this? All right, I want to do a COUNTIF. COUNTIF, the number of specific items are in a range. What do we have here? COUNTIF formula to determine how many students are in Class A in the appropriate cell. Okay, so these aren't class grades. These are actually the classes that the different students are in. In other words, Sophie is in Class A, James is in Class A, Tom is in Class A, and Michael is in Class A. So I want to figure out how many students are in them. And I'm going to use a count if. Okay, so I will do that. Equals count if bracket B4 to B12. Okay, I'll select all my values and then I'll explain what it is that I'm going to do. Yes. Range criteria is A. Will be C4 to C12. Okay. So my count if statement, let's run through this. I want to find out how many students are in class A. All right, so I'm going to put in a count if. In other words, this says I'm going to count whoever's in there. I'm going to count up my students that are in class A. So count if, these are the range of values. Okay, that's the range. The criteria is A. In other words, if a student is in class A and they are located in B4 to B12, I will count them. I'll count them up. Okay, so it's very easy to do. 1, 2, 3. We've got 4 students that are in class A. But once again, if I had hundreds of names, hundreds of students, that wouldn't be so easy. So yeah, we got 4. So in other words, the count if tells me if they're in class A, I'm going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what count if did for me. Okay, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sum up. A sum if, I believe, is what we had. What do we have? Sum if. Yes, sum if to add up all the test scores of students who are in class A in the appropriate cell. In other words, if a student is in class A, I'm going to add their test score and I'm going to add those test scores all together. So, in other words, that guy's in, Sophie's in class A, I'll add hers, this 9 plus 7 plus 9 plus 10, and so on and so on. Okay, so I will do a sum if equals sum if, okay, and my first range of values is this, okay, that's my criteria, sorry, my range, my criteria is A, and the sum range will be this here. Nope. Boy. Let's make sure that that is correct. B4, B12, C4, that should do it. Okay. Change that to a semicolon, and that should do it. Okay, so yeah, what that does. So in other words, my sum if says, hey, if you are in class A, okay? So sum if you are in class A, I'm going to add your test scores all together. So sum if, and I'm going to compare all of the values, the range of values in this column here, class. And if you belong to class A, I'm going to add all of your marks together. Oops, sorry. So that's all the sum if does, okay? And that's all it did. It added up. Oops, sorry. Added up B4, no, B4 to B12. That's better. Okay, so my summit function is comparing this range of functions here. It's saying, hey, if you are in class A and you're in here, I'm going to add up your test scores here. Okay.